You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the finals of the Eternal Tournament Series, final weekly of Season 3. I am, as always, joined by my wonderful co-caster, Truedawn, and we are about to bring you what is set to be a pretty great finals, as it is a rematch of a match we actually already saw earlier today. Walladil on Stone Scar Callus versus Thundershot on TJP mid-range.
Yep, we've saw this game play out before. One of the games, Walladil was able to have his deck function properly. He made Callus, he recurred it again. The other games, he was not able to recur his Callus and kind of got run over by a bunch of giant creatures. So this matchup could definitely go either way. Walladil really needs his deck to function and do its game plan, which it's good at doing. That's the upside of the streamlined base version of Callus. It does what it's supposed to do more often. But if he's unable to make a large Callus or recur it, he's going to run into trouble against Thundershot's giant creatures.
Yeah, he certainly will. I mean, this game is kind of in like the game is in Walladil's hands. Like, he needs to have his game plan function. He needs to hit his pieces. He needs to get the stash to get the Callus back. He needs to have Oblivion Spikes, Torrent of Spiders. He needs it all. And Thundershot needs to draw cards. That's all he needs to do. He needs to draw cards, and he needs to play a 3-drop, a 4-drop, and maybe a Parliament. And that will carry his whole game, essentially. So this is really going to come down to if Walladil can actually enact his game plan properly.
Yeah, definitely. But Thundershot does have a lot going on as well. Still has like just a bunch of giant creatures. If something like Cerso or even Great Parliament token goes unchecked, that's a problem. The Callus deck definitely has a weakness to flyers, same as the Witching token deck. So accelerated evolution might end up mattering in this matchup on like an Awakened Suit or something, but we'll definitely see as we move into the first game of our finals.
Yeah, and this is set to be a pretty interesting finals. And I think it's funny that you brought up Accelerated Evolution, because, you know, that's a card that really hasn't seen any tournament play, but certainly seems to have paid off for Thundershot today, including the last round where we saw it, you know, help him by throwing it on some Desert Marshals and really doing a lot of work for him, honestly.
It did a lot of work being a thing that could target Ikaria and remove the Aegis. That was the best it's been. This is super good.
Yeah, it really was. And yeah, that was like a really cool interaction to see, which is interesting because TJP is a deck that often has a problem with that.
Yeah, and we do see a slow fired off here by Thundershot. This is generally not going to be great against Walladil. The best targets are Smuggler's Stash and Callus. And we do see a Callus. Making it 6 isn't the end of the world. You can definitely get to 6 mana. It does slow your game plan down a lot, though. Generally, what you want to do with the Callus is have some creatures in play Callus, have 3 mana open, and then follow up, or some amount of mana open to follow up with another creature to protect it, so it doesn't just like attack once and die. So making the Callus cost 6 does inhibit that to a great degree. So we'll see if he likes to hit that or possibly Madness.
Yeah, I'm feeling like he's going to go towards Madness here. I mean, he can definitely take Callus if he does feel like the weapon's going to pressure him, but I certainly feel like Madness is the one that I would be a little more concerned about. You know, setting back his combo to 7 is pretty devastating. Though he does go with Quarry here since he recognizes that Walladil only has 1 extra power in hand. So he's trying to cut off the power supply to Walladil and stall him out that way, which is certainly a reasonable line of gameplay. Definitely, you know, a little bit thinking ahead.
Yeah, I think we saw a similar line in the previous match, where this same decision was there. He could have slowed a Callus or he could have slowed a Quarry. He slowed a Quarry. So just trying to choke off Walladil's mana. Walladil does need a reasonable amount of mana to enact his game plan, so I certainly understand it. This Valkyrie is going to get pretty good value silencing this Wisp here. And there's Sands from Titan is a thing that needs to be answered. Although, did we see a Combust in Walladil's hand earlier? Off the slow, right?
We did see a Combust indeed. It's going to depend on how aggressive Walladil wants to get here with using Madness Combust. I mean, if he has a power as early as next turn, he does have the option to go Madness Combust here, but definitely dropping the torch now. We're not going to see it, so we'll likely see Madness Combust come down on the following turn when Sandstorm Titan gets played.
I just see like normal Combust too. Like this 2-1 doesn't matter a lot, but the Madness might not be getting that much better. So it'll be interesting to see how much he wants to do to answer the Sandstorm Titan, whether he just wants to combust it normally or Madness Combust, get both creatures out of the way.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, since Thundershot has perfect info on his hand, it's actually likely he's going to forego playing the Sandstorm Titan here, which is putting us in a very interesting situation.
I don't love this because while Waldo doesn't have a lot going on, you want to like pressure him, and even if your Sandstorm Titan dies to combust, like where's that combust going? Is it going to disappear in a few turns? Like what's going to happen?
I think what Thundershot's thinking right now is that since Walladil isn't really doing much, that Thundershot also doesn't really need to do a lot here, and he can just kind of take his time and see what happens. Yeah, we see Sandstorm Titan coming down now, and Walladil's going to need to have a unit to actually combust this with now.
Yeah, this is a better spot certainly, but like the combust is still a way to answer it. His deck is full of creatures, and I guess maybe in some world he doesn't draw a creature, but we do see the Smuggler Stash getting back the Callus and the Dark Wisp. I believe there's one more creature in there, right? Or is that it? No, that's it. That's a pretty anemic Smuggler Stash.
Yeah, not impressive in the slightest. Thundershot, on the other hand, though, is, just over here powering up. And powering up to what? I have no idea, because right now he is just drawing dead as dead could be. He's got Permafrost, which does nothing in this matchup, and he's got a Sandstorm Titan. And yeah, it looks like Walladil is going to go ahead, and I'm assuming he has Devour to follow this up with. I'm going to go ahead and punch in with a Sandstorm Titan and likely devour this off. Is he going to... Oh, of course. Yeah, Callus. Duh.
It makes sense. And this is a bunch of damage. He gets the 2/2 flyer. He has a 6/6 weapon. He is firmly in the driver's seat, and Thundershot actually just needs to draw something immediately.
Yeah, Thundershot, this is what I was saying. Thundershot has to draw units. Like, if he doesn't draw a 2-drop, a 3-drop, a 4-drop, like, if he doesn't have units on the board, this is how he loses the matchup. If he can manage to put any unit on the board, he's good to go.
Yeah, you just need to stick something through the combusts and the madnesses and all that stuff. If we can just stick something, it'll usually be good enough. But the big Callus is way around that, so... We do see Walladil taking the first game, and we'll be likely moving into game 2 of the finals pretty shortly. Our players, we do not sideboard as it is best of 5, so for the first 2 games, it's just game 1. Although Thundershot will probably remember in a second, stop sideboarding.
Yeah, there you go. After he sees the challenge, he realizes that, oh, yeah, we have to play one more game, so going to jump straight back into it. Yeah, and we see Thundershot typing out that he almost went to sideboard. Would have been a mistake, but it would have been excusable. We would have caught it in time, fortunately. So,
yep. And this is a bit of an awkward hand here. 3 Desert Marshals, 2 Titans, and no time source. So not the best for Thundershot. We'll see if Walladil can punish him by just enacting his game plan. Because he's not going to be Thundershot's not going to be interacting.
Yeah, Thundershot doesn't draw power here of any description for even 1 or 2 turns. It could be very easily for Walladil to just scale out and take a very quick second game. And that's going to put him on the hill. I mean, if he can manage to get this one down, even if it's just even if it's just getting away with like what I would consider not a cheap game per se, but a game that he didn't really have to do much in. Like that's going to be very big for him, because I feel like Thundershot's post board really does put more of a stranglehold on this match.
Yeah, and Walladil's not able to punish Thundershot for stumbling, and he's starting to draw out of it. He already has a time source. Now the Desert Marshals are online. He has another time source. The Sandstorm Titan's online, or even just any power he can play, Parliament. So Walladil not doing anything on turn 3 or turn 4 does not bode well for the texture of his hand.
Yeah, interesting. And we see Thundershot elect not to drop a Desert Marshal. They're going to wait around and make sure the silence gets some value. See Seek Power off the top for Thundershot, going to allow him to get that second time. And yeah, the Walladil's little period to punish Thundershot for the stumble is basically over at this point. Now it's Thundershot's time to figure out how to handle the situation. And I mean, he's got a very, very good hand for it. 3 Desert Marshals isn't exactly the best, but between the Great Parliament and 2 Sandstorm Titans, you know, I feel like you're doing pretty well here.
Yeah, and you just have to kind of start slogging through Combust. I mean, he's going to do nothing here, but again, like, if he has Combust, where is it going?
Yeah, like really, like it's just gonna hang out in his hand. I feel like you need to play Sandstorm Titan here. Like if your opponent combusted, that's fine. You accept that you're gonna get that combusted away. It sucks, but guess what? You have so many more threats in your hand. I definitely would play Sandstorm Titan over Great Parliament currently.
Yeah, and I guess like there's certainly arguments not sending out 2 creatures, at least 2 creatures that matter. Like if you have a Desert Marshal and a Titan, like that's not really a blowout. You didn't care about the Desert Marshal. But I could definitely see arguments for not playing 2 Titans or Titan in the Parliament, but playing no actual creature. Like what are you doing? Like what's going to change?
Yeah, nothing in particular is what's going to change, and I feel like now you definitely play a Sandstorm Titan.
Or Parliament, it's like either or is fine. They're both like potent threats.
Yeah, I feel like honestly though, I like Titans getting sacked off more than I like Parliaments, because if Thundershot rips 3 straight power here, 2 4/4s that Walladil basically can't interact with, I feel like is much, much better.
Yeah, the flyers are very potent. None of the creatures trade with them. It's just a whole ground deck. They demand Combust, and if you're making 2 of them per Parliament, it's just asking way too much of Walladil.
Yep, and we do see Walladil taking care of this here, and Thundershot not having the power to ambush in a Desert Marshal here. Likely going to see a Sandstorm Titan out of Thundershot trying to bait Walladil into swinging at it, and then he's going to catch the Callus on the Desert Marshal.
And that's the cool like catch-22 that the Callus deck can sometimes put their opponent in, where it's like, if you play multiple creatures, you're scared of Madness Combust. If you only play 1 creature, I just get to Callus you.
Yeah, and this is very interesting. Obviously electing not to silence here, though he is going to beat his opponent in the face. Hopefully Walladil has a Devour. Yep, and he does. So he'll be able to take away that Sandstorm Titan. And, you know, he is doing a very reasonable job right now of removing Thundershot's threats and keeping a bunch of cards in his hand, which gives him more options and more outs in this game.
Yep, and we see the Sandstorm Titan come down, and Walladil does need more stuff. He has a lot of cards, though. If he has another stash to get back the Callus 30 to 6/6, that's huge game. If he's able to just play out a Torn of Spiders like that, that's a big deal too.
Ooh, and immediately combusts one too. Doesn't even wait to keep the board stalled. Just says, "Nah, let's take care of this right now." And I like that. I mean, he's definitely cementing that.
It's certainly risky because there are things like the Seraph and the Great Parliaments that the Death Touchers don't check by themselves, but there are things like the Sandstorm Titan that all the Sandstorm Titan does is attack and block, so the one with Death Touchers deal with that. But there are things like the Seraph and the Parliament that they may not deal with, so I would have preferred to save the Combust for that. But I guess he has a several.
Yeah, it looks like he has all the Combust in the world, really. Valkyrie Enforcer going to come down here with no silence target. Walladil likely going to have to just bury this Oblivion Spike into it, which doesn't feel great since the Spike will be dead, but, you know, at least the board is clear, and he is still holding a 3-card advantage. And
Stash.
Yeah, Stash makes it so that you're not upset in the slightest. And Thundershot does still have Vanquish and Parliament in hand, although Vanquish is, I'm pretty sure, 100% useless in this matchup.
Yes, Vanquish does not have a target, or even the prospect of a target. It's not like the builds that play Scrap Tank. There's literally nothing that it can kill.
Yeah, which is, you know, fairly unfortunate for him. Walladil just go ahead and he went ahead and dropped that Spider since he had 1 power floating over, and now we're likely going to see him make a very, very big Callus.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was a 1-turn window there where if Thundershot drew a power instead of the Awakened Student, he could have played 2 Owls, and it makes the weapons a little bit awkward. He would at least be able to crack back on one of them. But now it's just a 10-8 in play. Even if he draws the power here, it's just going to get to eat 1, and if he has any follow-up. So it's likely that this Parliament trades fully with the Callus, but now there's still the Spike will probably close it out.
Yeah, and that's a very big Oblivion spike. Should be about a 10. Nah, I think it's like a 9.95. Might be an
Yeah, I think it's
8.5
about
even.
9.
But and Torrent of Spiders even better. Gives Walladil some extra units. Yeah, assembly line too. So he's just created a very big board here. Even when he loses this weapon, he'll be able to use Oblivion Spike to clean this up, and he's got 6 damage on the ground. So 3-turn clock just on the ground.
Yeah, and we still know that the Spike is going to play up this 4/4. He probably maybe he might not play it to play around Desert Marshal, but I think you just jam it. I think that the things that punish you don't actually really punish you that hard.
Yeah, and he just saw by attacking first there, he knows that there's no Desert Marshal, so he should feel confident jamming this Oblivion Spike down. Actually, 7.5 on the Oblivion Spike is the same amount, which makes sense. He did pull both his units just from the Void, so decrease the power to re-increase it. And this leaves Thundershot dead on board.
Unfortunate that he found one of his vanquishes in the pre-board games, just stone blank card. Flooded out a little bit on the end there, but Waldo was able to execute his game plan, was able to make a big Callus, recur it. That game went pretty much how you draw it up as Callus, and unless Thundershot draws very well, it's usually not going to be enough.
Yeah, a very well played game by Walladil there. Thundershot and Walladil both stumbling on the early parts of that game, but neither of them are really committing too much. Walladil ends up getting it in the end due to Smuggler Stash. And now we will go into the players' boards with Walladil up 2-0. So Thundershot, he's been 3-0 the last 2 games, and now he's on the other side of that, going to need to run 3 straight back.
Yep, and we've talked about sideboarding before for this matchup, but run it down again. Mainly, Thundershot has things like Rain of Frogs, which, if it hits Callus, matters a lot. Crystallize can act as another sweeper, but it's not the most efficient thing in the world. I don't know if you want 3 of that. I'm not sure how. I'm pretty sure you want at least 1, but we'll see how many he brings in. Slow or Decay, mainly interaction with the large weapons, also probably going to come in. Vanquish and Permafrost, both very poor. I would expect the single target removal spells to come out, and we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we will see how this goes indeed. There's not a lot to say besides, kind of what you covered. I mean, their sideboarding plans. I mean, we'll see Thundershots on stream, fortunately, so we'll see what he decides. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same things. Important to note that makes between the 2 series we've now played, Walladil is 3-0 pre-board. So he has won every single one of the pre-board games, but obviously he did lose to Thundershot in the round 3 matchup when they faced each other. So lost both of his games post-board, and Thundershot's going to be hoping to capitalize on that and chalk up another 3 losses for him right here. It's going to be it's not going to be impossible for Thundershot. In fact, I feel like post-board he's actually in a pretty good position, but he can't stumble at all. One misstep, one bad game, and that's it. Because Walladil's sitting up on the hill right now, and he's about to go over it.
Yep, so it's a do or die time for Thundershot, and he really just needs to either hope that Walladil doesn't draw the correct sequence of cards. Like when Walladil is able to get a big Callus, recur the big Callus, it's very challenging for Thundershot to deal with. So he needs to draw some of his interaction, like this Decay we see, or just put on enough of a clock where the Callus isn't good enough.
And leading off with some units to get some chip damage in is definitely a good way to start, though we do see Thundershot is holding a Decay, and that is going to be a very, very key card in this matchup. Decay able to handle the nasty weapons that Walladil is going to be throwing at him.
Although he does need to draw power. This is very awkward. He needs double time for the first time. He also needs double primal. And he accidentally passed the turn without playing power, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a really huge misstep. I mean, Thundershot might honestly just lose the game for that. Like, if Walladil gets in for 5 damage right here and then makes a Callus and swings, that puts Thundershot at 6.
Yeah, he would have the Decay to kill the Callus afterwards, but it's a lot of damage happening that probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, that is, I mean, easily the biggest misplay we've seen all tournament. And in fact, he makes it a 12-12 Callus and a 2-2 Flyer to follow, only one of which Thundershot's going to be able to answer. Decay will gain him 3 life, so he'll go to 7, but he'll be at 5 after the Flyer. I mean, that might have just cost Thundershot the whole tournament. We'll have to see.
He's not dead here. He can deal with the Callus. He gains 3, takes 2, and he can deal with the Flyer. He has a Valkyrie or the Sandstorm Titan. If Waldo doesn't have a lot of business after this, Thundershot can definitely turn this around. But if Waldo has a stash, it's probably game.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, it's not.
Yeah, if he has a stash, this is probably game. Also, if he has, just some units to reload with here. Oh, and there's the stash. Yeah, this is going to be huge. We're going to see Bloodright Callus and the Grenadin Drone, as well as the probably just one of the random tokens get picked up.
Oh, there was a Slumbering Stone in there.
Oh, yeah, of course, the Slumbering Stone. Yeah, that's even
second
better.
Decay. Second Decay keeps him in the game.
It does keep him in the game, but the units start killing him pretty quickly. He's going to need to drop this Sandstorm Titan, and so Walladil right now wants to drop this Callus and then kill this Titan and then immediately drop all his units and just put some stuff on board, because Thundershot's going to have to spend his whole following turn using Decay, even if he finds an additional power.
Weird play by Walladil there, not sacrificing the Slumbering Stone, just get a 2-2 Flyer.
Yeah, that is a bit weird there. He would have been much better off. Whoa, Valkyrie Enforcer. Interesting. I mean, I guess Thundershot can afford an extra turn.
He put himself dead to Torture Combust, but you kind of have to make aggressive lines like this when you're this far behind. You lose the luxury of playing around certain things. So I kind of like being aggressive here, trying to make some forward progress while staying alive. Having your whole turn be Decay is not the best.
We do see another Slumbering Stone coming down, and Thundershot also light on power. Amber Acolyte is...
Again, I think it's the same spot. You're dead to a bunch of stuff, but you need to make forward progress towards your other cards. You can't just have your whole turn be Decay.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. We'll see if Walladil can close it out. I mean, he hasn't found the Combust yet, or the Torch, so Thundershot getting pretty lucky here right now. I mean, this was going to be a tough game regardless, but this is going to be pretty unfortunate if this misplay is what ends up killing Thundershot.
Also worth noting, if Walladil made the Slumbering Stone a 2-2 Flyer, Thundershot would have died 2 turns ago.
Yeah, that is true. And honestly, that might punish Walladil on the flip side here, because Thundershot now can drop this Valkyrie Enforcer and play the Combry Banner undepleted. That way he can still take care of the weapon. Whoa. What are you doing, Thundershot? No. Valkyrie Enforcer here for sure. And then you play Combry Banner. And then you just leave it up. That is absolutely the correct way to do this. There you go. And he finds the line of play.
Yeah, so... The gain 3 will stop him from dying to these Grenadin drones, but he does. So Waldo does need to find more business.
And
Oblivion Spike is good, although he
actually that was a missequencing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he missequenced that there, because if he attacks with the 1/1 Grenadins, then he forces Thundershot to decay immediately to not die, and then if he had an Oblivion Spike, he would have been good. Oh, and Thundershot doesn't have double primal, and that's going to be actually what kills him. Not having double primal here is going to end the game. Thundershot, unfortunately, not going to be able to bring it home here. The misplay definitely hurt him quite a bit, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure he still could have gotten out of this game regardless. A slight misplay on both players. Both players kind of put them in very interesting positions, but Thundershot's unfortunately a little bit worse than Walladil's missing a 2-2. Walladil's missing a 2-2 is not nearly as bad as taking a whole turn off. So
yeah, the voluntary time walk is not the best. Also, Thundershot could have sought power differently earlier in the game. He elected to get the second time instead of the first primal, and several turns later that ended up mattering. He can't crystallize here. Would have been able to live if he can crystallize here. So definitely, both players got to make decisions, despite Thundershot time walking himself and Walladil making some misplays and Thundershot making some misplays. There was a game there. Both players made decisions. Most of them mattered. And Walladil is going to end up taking it and be our champion for this week.
Yeah, and big congratulations to him bringing home a Callus, a deck that has been it's taken quite a while to have some sort of resurgence, but he did in fact bring it home. So yeah, huge shout out to him. And we're gonna let Rekenner jump in here and brag a little bit about his favorite deck.
Thanks, Bairdrus. Yeah, it's confirmed Callus is one of my favorite decks. I'm very happy to see Walladil doing well with it. But yes, hello everyone. This is Rekenner, your tournament organizer. I'd like to congratulate both Thundershot and Walladil for making it to the finals and guaranteeing their place in the Invitational, which is coming up next weekend on both April 1st and 2nd. We play up through the top 8 on day 1, and then for day 2, we show every single match on stream for the top 8 players. And I'd like to give a special congratulations for Walladil for taking the win in that series 3-0, even if unfortunately there was some misplays in game 3. It was still overall a very great series to watch. Next, I'd like to thank all of the players and all of the viewers. If it wasn't for you all, we couldn't be doing this, and really putting the show on every week is a blast. A special shout out to aReNGee, the founder and namesake of the website aReNGee Eternal. I'd also like to thank Miller Tool, our producer. He puts on amazing work every week. You can thank him for great ideas like the sideboard view, which we also now use to show both players' starting hands and mulligans. Without him, we literally could not do this. And also thanks to our graphics and code contributors. As a special note for this week, tomorrow is the last chance qualifier for the Season 3 Invitational. It is an open event, just like all of the previous weeklies, except that anyone that has already qualified for the Invitational may not enter. Invitations will be being sent out to all of those players by aReNGee tonight. It is also different in that the top 4 players qualify for the event. So if you want to participate in that, check out arengeeeternal.com/ETS and the tournament info channel on Discord. And finally, I would like to thank our casters, Bairdrus and Truedawn. Truedawn, would you tell us about your stream?
Sure. My name is Frank Moon, goes Truedawn on here and Truedawn FM on Twitch. You can find me at twitch.com/TruedawnFM. I stream every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern until it's going to start being 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We stream Eternal for a while, and then at some point in the afternoon, I move on over to Gwent. So if you like card games in general or Eternal specifically, definitely come hang out. We brew a bunch. We try hard sometimes. I think that we're going to have a try hard stream on Monday because it's towards the end of the season. So if you want to learn how to play more or just see the competitive scene or see me mess around with nonsense, all of that stuff we do on our stream. So definitely appreciate you coming out. And Bairdrus, tell us about what you do.
Thanks, Truedawn. Yeah, so for those of you who do or don't know me by this point, my name is Matthew Terrell, but I go by Bairdrus, of course. I cast this series generally every week. I know it's been a little dodgy for the last few weeks, but I do end up casting the Eternal Tournament series, and I will certainly be casting the Invitational coming up next weekend. You can also catch me on the aReNGee Eternal stream, the same one that you are currently watching, on Thursdays from 9 p.m. until 1 to 2 a.m. normally, where we play Ranked, Ladder, and Constructed. You can also catch me on the podcast that Neon does. I have taken over as the new co-host with Neon. So we do a podcast every 2 weeks. We're going to have a new one coming up tomorrow. So we'll be recording that and releasing it tomorrow night or Monday morning, depending on whenever Neon is able to get that up. But yeah, if you want some cool Eternal content where we talk about the tournament that just happened, that you all just watched, I'll be talking about it on there, as well as Neon likes to talk about the ladder since he is a great ladder player, and I love to ask him really annoying questions that are easy to answer. And that's got it for me, and let me pass it back to Rek.
All right, once again, thanks everyone for coming out to watch. Thanks everyone for coming out to play, and have a great night and rest of your weekend. This is everyone for everyone at aReNGee Eternal. Thanks a bunch.